Welcome back to Making an Adventure, guys. I'm Kimi, and it has finally gotten warm enough for us to start working outside here comfortably. So I'm going to do some maintenance on the truck. We've got all of this oil. We've got some glow plugs that need to change. Got a fuel filter, got an oil filter. So yeah, we're just going to get started. Very first thing that I'm going to do, open this hood. And you need to warm up this engine first before you change the oil out. Like right now, it's cold. I wouldn't stick my hand on there if it wasn't cold. We're going to warm up the engine, but I'm going to put a bunch of seafoam in there so that while the engine gets warm, the seafoam will go through and clean out all the passages. So it's going to give me a much cleaner oil change on that. So on the seafoam, it says right here, you can add it to the crankcase, which is inside the oil where you add the regular engine oil. And it says 1 ounce per quart of oil in the engine. And then I just look up on Google, and right here for my engine, which the International 444E is pretty much the same as the Ford 7.3 liter Power Stroke diesel. I just searched up 7.3 oil capacity. Right there, 15 quarts. This is a 16 quart can, so I'm just going to put it all in. It's fine for it to be a little bit stronger than normal when adding the seafoam stuff. It's a really good stuff. You can put it in the oil, you can put it in the fuel tank, you can put it anywhere. Not sponsored. But seafoam, if you're looking, I wouldn't mind. Alright, so now I'm going to give it a start and let it get nice and warm. I'm going to wait for the glow plugs. I'm still going to wait for the glow plugs to cycle, even though I know they don't work. It's a good habit to just stay in. You want to just use your settings here. Once everything gets flowing, let your oil get flowing, your pressure come up, and then use your settings on the side to set your high idle. So hopefully you can hear me a little bit better over here. But diesels don't like to idle for long periods of time. It's not really recommended that you just let them sit, overnight to try and keep yourself warm or something. Just let the thing idle. It's not very good for the engines. The diesels work really good at higher temperatures. They start to things get expanded and they work better just the way that diesel burns. And the way that combustion works on the diesel engine when the temperature is higher. But they're so efficient that when they're idled for a long period of time, they cool way down, and you get what's called blow-by. That blow-by is gases that have escaped around the side of the cylinder, and with those gases going around the cylinder, they also bring carbon with them, and all that gets into your oil. Now it's designed to do that a little bit, but too much will make your oil go bad quicker than it needs to, which then makes it longer, or it makes it worse when you go longer periods of time without oil changes, or even just if you go the standard interval but with bad oil to begin with, it makes it worse. So it's just not recommended that you let these things idle for a long period of time on a low idle. The high idle raises the temperature and negates all that stuff. It's safer to run on idle when the idle is nice and high. So I'm going to let this warm up for probably about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, and then I'll come back to you guys when I'm ready to change the oil in it. Alright, so I let the engine run for about an hour, and then I turned it off and let it cool down for another hour, and it's still hot and still warm. Like I can feeling the coolant. That's what this reservoir is here, my coolant. It's still pretty warm. It's not hot, but it's warm. So now I should get in there. There's a little bolt underneath. I'll loosen that and all the oil will drop out into this. Not into the ground, but onto this. It's a catch pan. We're just going to catch the oil and we'll do something with it later. It's at 3/4. Should just be able to just loosen it. Do the rest by hand. if you put firm pressure up into the housing as you loosen it, you should be able to feel when the threads are loose. It should click when you get around the last thread. There it is. And now I can pull it all out the way, and not get too much oil on my hands. But I hesitated too long because I was talking and I messed it up. All that oil drain out. While that's draining, I'm going to also drain the oil or the fuel up above. I'm going to drain the fuel out of the fuel filter. There it is. Get all that diesel out of that fuel filter. Is the oil still running? Slowly. Okay, so you take your 1/2-inch socket, stick it in there. Can you see?
I think so.
There we go. Who did that? Put this right there, just like that, to block. There we go. Pretty big container of seafoam here. Stick that somewhere safe. And now the filter. So we'll get the new one out the box so we have a place to put the old one. Oh wow, it comes with a new lid. I didn't know that. I hope it's the same thread pattern. Should be. I got it from an international dealer, I think. Now I'm going to close the fuel dump. There's actually a little bit of trash down in there too. Okay, let's make sure this fits. Oh no! Yeah, that fits. I bought all of these parts last year. Yeah, I'm gonna put a little bit of oil on this gasket just to make it seat better and make sure it doesn't leak. Let me go grab that. Okay. The kind of oil that this is does not matter. Not for this part of it. Just a thin film all the way around where it makes a nice smooth gasket, doesn't strip. I like to prime all my fuel filters with the seafoam stuff, at least on the diesel, to try and clean the injectors just a little bit. I'll let the rest of the area, the reservoir, fill up with diesel from the fuel pump, and that should be fuel filter. Oh, I just make this like hand tight, a little bit more than hand tight, very hand tight. I'm not using any tools to tighten it. Pups, come on, load up. Walkie, load up. Good puppies. Okay, you get to sit right there while we change this oil. Good pups. Sweet. The magnet didn't have a whole lot of stuff on it either. So on these oil drain plugs, right here in the center is a magnet. It's designed to hold fine metal shavings that are getting trapped in the oil. so you don't keep recirculating through your engine. So if you have a big like 1/4 inch mound on this, you should probably have someone go through the internals of your engine. This, barely much at all. Like, I wiped it and it was almost looked like somebody like pencil lead on paper, kind of smudged like that. So not a whole lot. Now this is nice and clean and goes back in. Nice and tight. And now for the oil filter, which is tough for you to see, but it's on the driver's side under here. Okay? Alright, so this is a strap wrench. I'm going to demonstrate on this. You just put it, anything you want to hold and loosen. The loosening direction go towards whatever this tip is pointing towards. So say I want to loosen this up, put that around there. This is kind of hard to hold. And you intentionally make it just a little bit loose. And then when you leverage it up, like that's too tight. So you want to loosen up just a little bit more. Because when you leverage it up, you want the rope to touch itself. I see it's still a little too tight. Just like that. You want the rope to touch itself. And then this leverage, as you try to loosen it, puts more pressure on the actual roll. You see right here? It's putting more and more pressure on it. That's how this thing loosens up and takes things off. So now, I gotta get down here and do all that where you can't see it and I can barely fit. I can't see it either. And get this thing off. There it is. Now let's see if I can take this off without having a whole bunch of oil run down my hand. Come on. There it is. Okay.
Messy, messy.
Okay.
Can you put it in the bucket?
No. No! I didn't want to do that. Now I'll take my new filter. Get this ready. Come on. And we're going to put a little bit of oil inside of this filter. I'm not pre-filling it. I'm mostly just putting enough on the edge so I can spread it around on this gasket. By no means am I filling this thing up though. By getting the gasket nice and oiled to where it comes off nice and easy next time. Back under we go. So I couldn't find a funnel, so I'm gonna make one. First I want to check my oil level, which should be empty. I didn't knock that, yeah, okay. Oops. You take a water bottle with the lid on it, squeeze, and it makes it easier with the lid on it and you're squeezing to poke into it. Now it doesn't really matter because you've put a giant hole. Okay. And now this thing is supposed to hold like 15 quarts. This pan holds 16, and as you can see, it is full. Like, that's all the way full. So I've got a lot of pouring to do. How many quarts are in a gallon? 4? I've got a lot of pouring to do. That's one of them. There's 4 quarts right there. So now I'm going to put all of this wasted oil, it's not waste, I'm going to use it again, in that bucket because this is going to spill, make a mess. You use yours, keep it for later if you want to keep it. Or a lot of times your city dump or auto parts stores can take it and recycle it. I'm going to try to filter it and use it for something else. Wow.
Holy moly.
Okay, sure.
Wow.
I think the final thing to do for our fluids change today, we need to start the motor and make sure that still runs, because that would suck to do all this preventative maintenance and break it.
Ooh.
So let's dump the rest of the seafoam in here. So this is a 55-gallon tank, and it's most of the way full still. And the seafoam, I think it's good for 1 ounce per gallon. No, that's to stabilize. Yeah, so 1 ounce per gallon for regular. Regular, like every time you fill up the tank, you can do 1 ounce per gallon. If you want to do a deep clean, you can do 2 ounces per gallon. I probably won't put the full thing in here then. So this is 128 ounces. This is a 55-gallon tank. I do want to deep clean it, but I already pre-filled the filter with 100% seafoam. So we're just going to put a bit. That's about 3/4 of the way. We'll call that good. Alright, now let's fire it up. That should be enough to build pressure. So to check your oil, and I checked this too every time I did it, you saw me, but you just take it off and wipe it, and then you stick it back in there, and then this time when you pull it out, you take a look at the level. It is low. We need to put more in there. Let's throw some more of that oil in there. Let's try this again. And we are within the lines, but not all the way. Can you see where that is? About halfway up.
Kind of.
Let's try it again. But we're out of oil because I didn't buy enough. It said it only took 15, and I put probably 18 in it, and it's still not full. Alright, so that's going to be all for this video. If you're liking what you're seeing on this one, or if you think you might be able to save some money doing the oil change and the fuel filter, that kind of service on your own tiny house skoolie, this is the same front end as a lot of school buses. So if you can follow this stuff along, you can probably do it in your own school bus too. Subscribe for more videos. We'll see you guys next time. Wait. Kita, wait. Good girl. Come on, inside. This way, inside. Inside. Good pups.